Hey guys, it's Jena. Welcome back to my channel today. In today's video, I'm going to go over the top 5 best neutral eyeshadow palettes that I think are so worth checking out, especially if you are just someone that wants something that's everyday friendly, super easy to put looks together, and something that's really high quality. So without further ado, all of these are high-end palettes that I think are so worth it when it comes to how many looks you can create and how beautiful you can feel when wearing them. So let's get started. You can do a neutral palette countdown video without shouting out this palette. This is probably like the queen of neutral palettes that I think is so stunning. This is Natasha Denona All Neutral Biba palette. This, you guys, is something that when I first got it, I wasn't sure if I was going to use it as much as I thought because this is so expensive. I was like, you need to know that I need to make my money worth it. Like, I need to make sure that I can get a lot of use out of this one. It's a big Natasha palette. It's so pretty, you guys. I just feel like these are so richly pigmented shades that you don't even need a ton to just have such pigment amplified on the eye. They're so easy to work with. They're so complementary. I feel like you can easily see looks even within like quads, how the palette is set up, or you can just mix and match all over the place, but there's some really creamy mattes in here. The creamiest black I've ever seen is down here. It's the shade Spot. It's so beautiful. She has a really beautiful like cream to powder formulation that's represented in this palette. And she also has these beautiful everyday friendly neutral colors that I know a lot of people are looking for. I just think this is a great choice because you can absolutely use this for everyday work looks, but a lot of the shades in here are cream to matte or matte. They're just like super easy to work with and in my opinion, just that gorgeous look that just isn't too bold or isn't too crazy loud. If you're after a palette that I think basically every single shade is so worth it, the quality is there. I don't know, I'm very pleasantly surprised with this one. At first I didn't think I would really get on with it, but I love it. It's definitely a palette that I would always recommend to anyone that wants a neutral. This is Natasha Denona's Biba palette. When you think about Charlotte Tilbury and you think of eyeshadow, I think a lot of us think about Pillow Talk, especially the Pillow Talk Quad or the Instant Eye palette from Pillow Talk, which is that 12-pan extension palette. Those are beautiful palettes. But I think this next palette is perfect for neutral loving makeup wearers because this is just so everyday friendly. These shades I think translate so well, and I also think there isn't a dud in this quad at all. This is Charlotte Tilbury's Exagger-Eyes quad. Oh my goodness. I also feel like this is kind of underrated now. Like I know Pillow Talk gets a lot of the spotlight, but this really needs a lot more. This is so gorgeous. On the eye, how she does palettes like this is basically you can just construct a look all in one. You start with this shade all over the lid, and then you can enhance the look with the second shade on the right. Then if you want, you can smoke out here with the bottom right shade and just kind of put on the outer edge of your look. And then you can do a pop, which is the pop of shimmer. You can just put in the center of the eye to connect all of the shades together. This is so pretty, and I wear this when I just want to look glamorous, but nothing too over the top. Just like my natural, I was gonna say my natural beauty, but no, it's still wearing makeup at the end of the day. But this is still just a beautiful quad that I think you can wear and you don't feel like you're trying too hard even though you put makeup on. You know, it's just so pretty. This is also the beautiful reflective rose gold packaging. You can see that there. I don't know, it's so glamorous, definitely worth the money when it comes to her quads. I will say that not all of the quads perform to the same quality. They're very close, but there's a few duds along the way. So this is one that is so worth it. This is the Exagger-Eyes quad from Charlotte Tilbury. Every time I think of neutral palettes, especially to the beginner, somebody that is not necessarily wanting to spend crazy bank on a palette yet, like Natasha or Charlotte Tilbury. The one that just is like, you know, I want a nice quality palette, but I don't want to spend a fortune yet. Maybe I'm getting into makeup for the first time, or I just want something that's so easy to use but won't break the bank. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette, and I would suggest this one for sure to anybody that is like that. Anastasia Beverly Hills has a gorgeous formulation. I would say the only downside with her formula is that you can get sometimes some significant fallout from pigment onto your cheek as you're working with them. So just be careful with that. Do your eyes first before doing any face makeup, because that way you will not necessarily ruin anything if you do your eyes first. But this is so pretty. Like, this is like a soft, like, suede kind of feel, I think is the word. It's just so like comfortable. And when you open it up, whoop, it does come with a dual-ended brush that always falls out, but I just wanted to show you guys first. And then we have these gorgeous tones. I just think this is so beautiful. I feel like you can do pops of shimmer with this. There's so many mattes, like every staple matte that you need is basically in here. I just think this is lovely. I honestly do think this is one of the best palettes she's ever done, and it's a bestseller at Sephora for a reason. I do think that some people in the makeup community here on YouTube are kind of like over some of these palettes, but there's a reason why palettes like this are so best-selling. The quality is there, the shades are everybody's staple shades, and it's just a perfect transition palette from day to night. Anastasia, I think, is also like a really reasonable price point. I wouldn't say they're super, super expensive, but they're definitely more than drugstore, of course. So it's a good introductory palette to someone that just wants these beautiful neutral shades, perfect for every day, with a lot of versatility attached. I think a lot of people would feel comfortable working with shades like this too, especially if they're a beginner. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. Now, Charlotte Tilbury is one of my favorite makeup brands, and this is a palette that I had to throw in to the video today because it's so pretty and it stands out in her formulations. She just does some amazing work with this one. This was from last year's holiday, so if you're able to grab it still, I do think it's worth it. This is the Bejewelled Eyes to Hypnotize Charlotte Tilbury 12 pan palette. First of all, look how stunning the outer packaging is. You can tell that it's meant for holiday. It's so beautiful. It's basically like a crystal or like jewels, you know? It's just so beautiful. And if you know Charlotte Tilbury and sort of how she, I guess, promotes her brand, she's very luxurious, very glowy, very like your own beauty, kind of brought up from within and amplified with makeup, you know? She's just like, she's super sweet, but she's definitely good at selling her makeup because I am a big sucker for most things. This is no exception. This is a beautiful palette. I would say this is one of her best formulations, like I said, because there's really creamy mattes in here, gorgeous shimmers, and there's also some shimmers in here that if you do wet your brush, you can actually amplify the shimmer even more. So I would say this is a beautiful palette. If you're wanting a little bit more than a quad, I do think the Exagger-Eyes is a really good option because it's just 4 shades. But if you're wanting more than that, more versatility, she's actually grouped this palette into groups of 3. Each of them are looks, so it's very easy to visualize where to navigate and how to create looks with this 12 pan palette. The first shade is always the prime shade, and then the second shade is the enhanced shade. The third shade is the smoke shade, the one that she suggests putting in the outer corner. But of course, you can do whatever you want. I just love how these are grouped so easily. So if you are kind of having trouble visualizing where to go, this is a perfect way to put looks together because she basically does it for you. This palette was super hyped up during last holiday, of course, but I still think that if you're able to get it, it is so worth it. This is the Bejewelled Eyes to Hypnotize from Charlotte Tilbury. The last neutral palette that I'd recommend to you guys is basically for the gal that wants something mini-sized, something not super pricey, but wants the quality of a Natasha Denona or a Charlotte Tilbury, you know, the luxury quality, but not quite the luxury price tag, you know? This is the mini nude palette from Natasha Denona, and I would say this is a perfect way to get Natasha Denona's formulation. Not quite all of the formulas that she's used to creating because she's created quite a few, but there's a lot represented in this palette, and I do think that this 5 pan is perfect for everyday wear. This is Mini Nude, like I said. It's actually the complementary palette to Natasha Denona's Biba, which we just talked about earlier. So maybe you saw the Biba palette and you looked at the price point and your jaw dropped to the floor. This is probably a good sign to not spend that kind of money unless you're comfortable with it, and just get a palette like this instead. You can see that the shades here are so easy to work with because it's just like the looks just create themselves for you. I love that there are 3 shimmers in here because I am a shimmer gal myself, so every palette is not complete without a shimmer. And then we have 2 gorgeous mattes. This matte over here, I would say, is probably just a tad stiff at times. It's not like super crazy stiff, but it's enough to notice if you are a Natasha Denona stan. But if you aren't, this is still a shade that's very easy to work with, and I don't think you'd actually notice a difference at all. So it just kind of depends on how familiar you are with Natasha's formula, but this is a beautiful one that I always recommend. It's always made like the top 5 mini palettes ever, in my opinion, from her. This is Mini Nude by Natasha Denona. What do you guys think of these neutral palettes? Do you have a palette that you didn't see in this video that you'd recommend? Do let me know down below because I'm always checking your recommendations and picking makeup out for myself all the time. Until my next one, guys, don't forget to subscribe for more high-end and luxury makeup reviews. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Bye, guys.